Okay, so let's start with kind of part two of this first assignment, where what we want to really talk about is how we could get descriptive information for age and cigarettes per day for men and women separately. Okay, in question 4 it's asking for it separately. And we can do that in one of two ways. One way is that we can split the file by sex through doing this under data. If you look under data, there's a place here where you can split the file. And so when you split the file, we're going to split and we're going to organize the output based upon the two groups, and we're going to shoot sex over here. Okay, so we're going to organize the output by the groups. We're going to get data, once we run our next analysis, we'll get data for men and women separately. And then you can see that this says that it's got to sort the file by the grouping variables. So we're going to paste that. We're going to go over to the syntax window. And then one of the things that I want you to see when I run this is what happens in the bottom right-hand corner of the SPSS data file here. So I'm going to run this, and sorry, now I'm not in that file. Go over to back over to the data file, and maybe it's hard to see right now. Down here in this right-hand corner, you can see where it says now that it's split by sex. So now, when we do what we're asked to do, which is to get the descriptive data for age and cigarettes per day, you can see it's already here actually, because that's what we just did. In fact, let me show you now part of why it's so nice to have the syntax file. Now that this file's split, I can just go back and I could copy this and I could paste it down here, and then I can run this from here, and I don't have to actually do the menu driven part anymore. So now you can see in the output there's output for the men, and of course it says that you have 2,202 data points. That's because there's 2,202 men in the study, right? And we've got the average age for them, and then for the women, the other 2,798 people in the study, we've got their average. So then we can write a sentence here, and I'm going to sort of take advantage of what I've written up here. Let's see. Here it is. And just paste that down here to save myself a little bit of time. So I'm going to say the sample, the men in the sample, and here I can put n equals 2202, had an average age of, and that's where I want to come over here and I want to highlight the cells. I'll do this one first. I'm going to highlight the cells, switch the background to yellow. So I can say the men in the sample had an average age of 48.15, and the standard deviation was 17.81. And there were 425 current smokers who smoked an average of, and now I'll go get these two pieces of information. And you don't have to do this in a different color, but maybe I will now just to make it easier to see. An average of 13.12 cigarettes per day with a standard deviation of 11.06. Now I'll do the same thing for the women. The women in the sample, there were 2,798 of them. They had an average of, and again I'll highlight these cells. I'll go ahead and highlight these the same as I did the others. Background yellow. Okay, and this background green. The women in the sample had an average age of, and we changed that here, 50.34, standard deviation equals 18.71, a little bit more variable. And there were 429 current smokers. They smoked an average of 12.73 cigarettes per day, and the standard deviation was 12.60. Okay, so then we've answered that question. Now what I want to show you is that there's another way you can answer it, and that is by not actually taking the time to split the file, but there's a way that you can do it simply from the commands. But before I do that, I want to remind you that if you leave the file split by sex, everything that you do going forward is going to have the file split. So if you were, for instance, to try to compare men versus women for an independent samples t-test, it wouldn't run it because it would say you've got one group of just men and one group of women. I can't compare between them. So you have to be sure that you go back up and under split file that you turn it back off. So you do that by hitting reset, and I'll paste that into my syntax really important, because if you go back and run everything from the syntax window, you need the split file to be off. So I'm going to highlight that and run it. Now it says down here, you can see there's no split file anymore. And so now let me show you how you can get the data for men and women separately without splitting the file. So you go to Analyze, Compare Means, and you go to Means. And then you're going to get the means for age, and you can go ahead and put both of them in here at the same time. Again, I have to find this. Number of cigarettes a day. Okay, and then I'm going to get that as a function of an independent variable, and in this case the independent variable is sex, so I put that in here. Now I'm going to paste that, go to the syntax window, and my split files has already been turned off, so now I'm just going to run this, and it's going to give me the means for the men separately and the women separately. So you can see that those data match up exactly with what we've already said. So the men's average age is 48.15, and you can see that in here, right? So you've got the average age, 48.15, standard deviation for the men and the women, and those numbers, of course, match the numbers that we have when we did the split file. It's the exact same. It's just a different way of doing it. Okay, and then we can do the same thing for the cigarettes. And here, of course, we also need to know how many people, so I'll go ahead and highlight that. And that's the exact same data. And then what's nice really is I guess it gives you the data for the overall too, so you can compare that back up here at the top to what we said for the overall sample. So we said that the sample had an average age of 49.38 years, and that's of course what it says here as well, 49.38, 5,000 participants. All right, so that's it. That's all there is, and you should now know everything you need to be able to complete the assignment on your own. All right.